So what we're doing here, we're looking for the percent change in something. So I want to talk about a few of these actually before we get going. Let's look at the first two problems. Notice that in the first two, we're going from 45 to 54, and then we're going from 54 to 45. So we're actually using the same numbers just in a different order. So what do you think is going to happen with those? So one's going to be increasing, one's going to be decreasing. Do we think they're going to be increasing and decreasing by the same amount? No. They actually are increasing and decreasing by the same number, right? Yeah. One goes up by 9, the other one goes down by 9. But the percent change is going to be different. And the reason is when we do the percent change, we divide by the old number, the original number. So when we divide by 45 and when we divide by 54, we're going to be getting different numbers. So even though it's the same numbers just flipped, we're going to be getting different percent changes. I'll talk about these two when we get to them, but those are pretty different numbers. $100 to $120 is pretty different than $10 to $12, but it actually turned out that the percent change there ended up being what? Those percent changes ended up being the same. And we'll talk about why when we get there. Let's go ahead and do the first one, though. We're starting at 45. We're going to go to 54. I like to do this. I like to write down here, this is the old number, this is the new number, just to help me out with plugging into the formula. And then what is my formula going to look like? Hold on. What are we finding? Percent change. This may not seem important to you, but it is important. You need to write down what it is that you're finding. If you don't write this percent change here, you're going to lose a point just like you would if you didn't box your answer. You need to write down that we're finding the percent change, just like we did when we were finding the slope or anything else. And we're going to write percent change equals, and then write down what it equals. And this is just plugging into the formula now. So in that formula, what do we have on top of the fraction?
4 minus 45.
Okay, so it's the new number minus the old number. So it's going to be 54 minus 45 divided by the old number, which is 45, and then times 100%. So we want to change that that result, what we get there, into a percent. So we do that by multiplying by 100%. And what do we end up with? Okay, so it is a positive. So we get 20 when we type it into the calculator. Since it's a positive 20, the number's going up, we need to make sure we put the sign there. Remember, with percent change, it should always be a plus something or a minus something. Don't forget that. And then it's also a percent, so we need the percent symbol on there. So it's a 20% increase. What this means, remember, percent means out of 100. So let's say that we're buying stocks and we have $100 worth of this stock at the beginning, then it's going to go up by 20%. 20% or 20 out of 100 is going to be $20. So if we had $100 worth, now we're going to have $120 worth. All right. How about if that same stock goes down now from 54 back down to 45, back where it started? How do we figure out what that percent change is going to be? First of all, which one's my old number?
54.
And the new number?
45.
What's the formula going to look like with those two in there?
45 minus 54.
Percent change equals
45 minus 54 over 54, and then multiply by 100%.
All right, punch all that into your calculator. What do you get?
16.7%.
Okay, so you actually get, this is something we're going to have to round here, so it's going to be negative 16.6666 is what your calculator gives you. It does say, if necessary, round to the nearest tenth of a percent. Are we going to need to round this?
Yeah.
Yes. Where is the tenths place?
The first.
It's the first number after the decimal, so it's that 6 right there. which means that we're going to cross off everything after that. And this 6 here, this last 6 that we keep, is that going to stay a 6 or is it going to change? It's going to change to what?
7.
Yeah. And the reason is the 6 next to it is it's 5 or more, right? So since that next number is 5 or more, then we increase this one to a 7. And so what we end up with then is
Negative 16.7%.
-16.7%. So when our stock went up from 45 to 54, it went up by 20%. But then when it went down from 54 down to 45, it only went down by 16.7%. All right, so again, if we had $100 worth of stock back here when it was $54 a share, then it would have gone down by a little over $16 a share, or I'm sorry, a little over $16 for that $100 we had in there to begin with. All right, how about this one? All right, so percent change equals 120 minus 100 over 100 times 100%. Now, just something to help us out here so we don't make mistakes typing this in the calculator. What's going to happen when I divide by 100 and then multiply by 100? Rather than typing this into the calculator, this divided by 100 and this times 100, they just cancel each other out. So all we really need to do here is do 120 minus 100, which I think you could do that in your head, right? What's 120 minus 100? 20. Is it positive 20 or negative 20?
Positive.
It is positive 20. And remember, with percent change, we want to put the plus there. So that's a plus 20% increase. And the reason that we don't really need to change this to a percent is because it's already out of 100. The old number was 100, so any change is going to be the percent change, because percent means out of 100. All right, so when it starts at 100, then we just need to figure out how much it changed by. It went up by 20, so it's a 20% increase. If it would have started at 100 and went down to 50, then it would have been a 50% decrease. Okay, so if it starts at 100, that actually makes things really easy for us as far as percents go. How about this one? Percent change equals what? Taylor? Okay, and there's actually, we could do a shortcut here also. We could do divided by 10 and times 100. 100 divided by 10 is actually just 10. So we could get whatever we do here and multiply it by 10, or we could just type it all in the calculator. Either way, what do we end up with? Plus 20%. So before we move on to the next one, I want to talk about why we get the same answer here as we did on the last one. So let's pretend like we were buying stock here, all right? And I want to buy $100 worth of stock when it's $10. So if the stock is $10, how many shares can I buy for $100?
10.
10, right? How'd you get that, Jack?
Because 10 plus 10 plus 10. 10 plus. Oh my goodness. Multiple more. If you add 10 times, you get 100.
Yeah, or just do 10 times 10, right? So if we want to buy $100 worth and they cost $10 each, then we can buy 10 shares. Okay, and we get that by just doing 100 divided by 10. So if we buy 10 shares, how much is it going to be to start with? We just said that. 10, not 10. 10 shares, $10 each is a total of $100 worth. If that price goes up to $12 per share, we still have 10 shares. So how much are 10 shares worth if it's $12 per share? You have 10 shares, $12 each.
120.
Multiply them together, you get 120. So if I take these two numbers here and I think about what happens if I have 10 of them, then it turns into the same problem we had in number 3, doesn't it? Because 10 shares would be $100 to $120, which is exactly the same thing we had in the last problem. So we get the same percent change, even though it's a smaller change. It only goes up by $2 here, but since the starting amount is also less, then that makes the percent change bigger. How about this one? Let's let's set this one up here.
Zero minus seven divided by seven times 100%.
All right, what is 0 minus 7?
-7.
Negative 7. What's negative 7 divided by 7?
1. -1.
Negative 1. What's negative 1 times 100?
-100.
Negative 100. Okay, and it is a percent, so it's negative 100%. So who can tell me how I could figure out this was going to be negative 100% without doing any of this math here? Any of the math that we just did? Let me ask the question a different way. Let's say you're buying stocks, and you buy a stock that's worth $7 yesterday. Today it's worth $0. How much of your money did you lose?
$7.
All of it, right? You went from $7 to $0. You lost all your money, right? So the company went bankrupt, you lost all your money. So what percentage of your money did you lose? 100% of it, right? So if you started any amount and go down to 0, you lose everything. So you lose 100%, so that's going to be a 100% decrease. So without using this formula, you know that that's going to be a 100% decrease because we lost everything. Everything is gone.